I was there. I was there the entire day. I was there as they taunted him and dressed him in fake royal robes. I had followed and loved Jesus for the past 2 years, ever since he had saved my life. How could I turn away as he was being led to death? My name is Mary. There are a lot of Marys in my time, but I'm the Mary that comes from the town of Magdala, Mary Magdalene. Before meeting Jesus, I was a wealthy woman. I married young, like most women in my day, and my husband, he was wealthy and old. He died just 2 years after we were betrothed. I had no family left, and my husband had no heirs besides me, so I used his wealth to build a business, and I did well for myself. But I was not well liked in Magdala, and I used to think it was because the people in the town didn't like the idea of a powerful and independent woman, and maybe they didn't, but the truth was, I didn't like myself much either. Some days I was fine, but sometimes it was like something else would take over. I would fly into a rage, a screaming, shaking, spitting curses at anyone in earshot kind of rage. I hardly remember those times, but other times I would just lay in bed, couldn't get up, couldn't eat. I would just stare at the shadows crawling across the ceiling. I think I felt like there was Mary, me, and there was someone else inside me who would take over, but I never knew when. One day, though, Jesus came through my town. He was traveling with a bunch of fishermen and someone who I think used to be a tax collector. He came to my house and asked my maid if he and his friends could stay with me, since I did have the biggest house in the town, and they thought I could spare the room. My maid was going to send them away because she knew I didn't have any friends, and I wasn't exactly known for being the best hostess. But I was curious, so I let them stay. That night, Jesus and his friends sang songs in the courtyard, and he kept us up till dawn telling the most exciting stories I had ever heard. Stories about what God is like. He told a story about God being like a shepherd, which I knew. Every rabbi in every synagogue said that on the Sabbath days. But the story specifically about like the kind of shepherd God is, it goes like, there was a shepherd, and he had 100 sheep in his flock. And one day he discovered that one of them was missing. So he left the 99 to go and find the one. And when he found it, he picked it up and put it on his shoulders and brought it back to town to show all his friends and neighbors, look, I have found my lost sheep. Is this what God is like? I thought God was distant, looking down on us in judgment if he ever thought about us at all. But deep down, I thought, at last, hope, because I think I felt like that lost sheep. No friends, no family, no way to God. I felt tears well up, and I was about to ask him, Rabbi, can this be true? But the other me took over, and a voice that scarcely sounded like my own barked out, leave us, Jesus of Nazareth. Go back to where you come from. And I lost control of my body and fell to the ground. But Jesus spoke calmly, be quiet, come out of her. And something left me. And he said it again and again, 7 times. I had lived with 7 demons, and he cast them all out of me. After that, I was not the same. I learned I could love people. I learned that I had hope. I started following Jesus and his friends through the countryside for the next 2 years, listening to him tell stories and free countless people just like me, people who had been held hostage in their own bodies. People thought they could never be free. I think that's the thing that got to me. He freed people wherever he went. Wherever we would go, we would leave singing and laughing people behind us. But some people didn't want to be free. Some people couldn't imagine the gift that Jesus came to give. And so I found myself watching these Roman soldiers nail my friend, my teacher, my Lord to a cross. This man who had brought freedom and joy everywhere he went, was captive, subjected to anguish. I stood there and I looked around, and I saw his mother Mary weeping next to John. I saw other women like me, women despised and rejected, hated for what they had done or what had been done to them, women who the world said didn't deserve family or dignity or love. We were all weeping because we realized that this man, who had literally saved us from death and suffering, was dying right before our eyes. And I think all of us felt the same way, that he had taken our place, and now I know how true that was. I watched him, and I remembered what the prophet Isaiah had written. The punishment for our peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed.